So we are going to paint on glow today. She's got a lot of skin and cloth, and that's pretty much it. Skin, cloth, hair. She's got her lantern, but there's not too much to that, right? So what I want to do is I've already zenithal primed. Okay, I'm going to use the zenithal to kind of inform where my lightest and darkest values of each should go. I've got what will effectively be like the shadows of my skin, the lights of my skin, probably these two mixed together, right? Something like this, maybe even use this light green gray to desaturate a little bit, maybe with a touch of the blue, probably something along these lines. Just a touch of that guy in there. That might have been too much, but it's getting us to something. This was just too dang pink. I don't want it that pink. All right, so we have something like this as like the lights of the skin. Then we'll have like our colors for the cloth. She has a white cloth. It's like a proper white, not like a dirty tan. So we're going to use more cool colors. And then she's got her lantern basically in her hair. And her hair is like pink. It's like magenta pink. So I will end up using that. So I'm going to start here with just like starting to kind of block in the light and shadows, right? So basically anywhere where I see gray is going to be light. Okay, things like this, right? Her arm. Her hand here. Okay, I'm not too worried right now about like being clean. I just want to get the shape in, right? Get some of these forms in so I get my lights and shadows right. Then I can blend in between. Okay, got some on her back, but it's definitely darker on the back. These will be more midtones. I'm just placing a little bit so I know like that's a lighter section. But overall it will be much darker. All right, so something as simple as that. Then we're going to grab some of this, which will be our bit of our dark flesh tone. We might have to darken it more, but you can see this is like something much darker. And essentially cover anywhere where I did not hit. I'm going to leave some space, which will serve as like, okay, this is something in between. I'm trying to get like the really dark sections right now. I can do a lot more on the, I will eventually cover much more of the face, but I don't want her face to have like too much shadow on it. I want it to be soft. Okay. So it's important to have some softer features on her. Kind of back here is going to be quite dark. Eventually I'll do a little bit of OSL effect from the lantern. But just getting some of these general shapes in is going to help, is going to go a long way in like rendering these volumes. Okay. You can call it a sketch, you can call it whatever you want. So I'll take something that's a mix of the two. Right, so now I have something in between, this like transitional value. This is just my approach for them. This is not saying this is like the way you have to do it. Some people like to start with a shadow and build up. For me, I find this a little easier than doing it that way, to just kind of jump into the lights and shadows and get sort of a general sense of where things need to be. And also, you could think of it almost like cell shading, right? But getting something that's like halfway now is going to like help me a lot in just like maintaining the consistent light and shadow values, right? And I still have to paint highlights on top of this. This does not have any highlights. This is just purely like lights and shadows. For anyone who's watched the stream before, probably understands this at this point, I would hope. But the general concept wise, we want to just get sort of the initial values down. Make sure the lights and shadows are working. And then we can start to like blend in between and make fine adjustments. Right? So let's kind of like zoom out and be like, okay, is it working? Are the lights where I want them to be? Right? I mean, if I need to adjust shapes at this point. Hi, greeting from Uruguay. Hello. We have a couple South Americans in the chat. So would this be sketching or layering? It's, I guess, both? Okay. So here it's like I see this shape, right? And I look at it and I go like, you know, it's a little small. So I can make, as I begin to create more layers in between, I can adjust the shapes as I need it. If I need to like make the light larger, I can blend, or I can layer more into the shadows. And if I want to make the shape smaller, I can layer more in the lights, right? So depending on where I place the layer is how much light or shadow, like I can adjust the size of the volume or the shape of the volume through different approaches, right? Let's do a little example, okay? So I have, right, let's say I take this and I have this here, right? So this is shadow. And this is light, right? And they're right next to each other. Right now, if you looked at this volume, like as a volume, Mo's Magic, hello, thanks for the prime, appreciate it. Right, if you looked at this as a volume, you'd assume it just has like a hard edge, right? It's like the transition from light to shadow is instantaneous, so the shape would just be like this, right? It would just be a drop off, like a staircase, you know? Yeah, exactly. So there's like a 90-degree corner or some kind of hard edge, right? Now, when I take a color in between and I start to round this shape over, hold on, let me make sure it's dry. So if I put it right in the middle, it doesn't grow or shrink either the light or the shadow, right? It just maintains the size of the light and shadow, but it just rounds that surface over. Okay, so if I do like this, like right in the middle, all it's doing is rounding it, okay? But if I take and blend slightly more into the shadow, right? If I cover, instead of painting right in the middle, if I paint favoring towards one side, if I favor towards into the shadows, then it grows the lights, right? And makes the lights bigger. All right. If I blend more into the lights, it makes the shadows bigger. Or is it better doing the blending on an extra coat of paint? I don't wet blend. I'm not a wet blender. So I'm not the person to ask about wet blending. What is my preferred technique for blending? I just layer. For me, everything is just layers. Do you get my art of book? By the way, nice plug and segue. The art of books are on Kickstarter right now. If anyone has a link to the Kickstarter, yeah, you can get Vince Venturella, Natalia Rux, and Tim Marsh's book that are on Kickstarter right now. You can also get any of the old series. I have my link. Hold on. If anybody has the link in the... I posted the link in the general chat a while ago in the Discord, but now I don't know where it went. That was a while. Oh, here it is. I found it. No, use my link. Click on mine instead. Hey man, he brought it up. Anyways, I cover more about color schemes in my book. So it's a lot more about like color than it is necessarily about light. But basically my methodology to blending is just layering. So I tend to work like thick to thin. Okay, so I start with thicker paint layers, and then as I go, I just grab a value in between, and I just paint in between the layer, right? And that's what works for me. And then as I begin to refine more, right, as I get more refined, I paint thinner layers. And make finer adjustments. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, you could call it a glaze, I guess. It depends on what like level of finish I'm going for. But I start very broad, right? The broad strokes, that's quite literally where that phrase comes from. So you can kind of see now, like, even though it's not perfectly smooth, right? Like, from here, right, the lights and shadows work, right? And that's all I'm really aiming to do, is just make sure that they're working kind of at this stage, and then you can, you know, what level you want to take this to, in which everyone should have a different. I don't particularly like the term tabletop or display, because I think everyone has their own definition of what that means. But you can then like take it to whatever level of finish that you want. More important, I think, than necessarily getting like perfect blends on this stuff is really light placement. Has so much more to do with like achieving a good looking figure than like perfect blending, because you can make something like as smooth as possible, but if the light placement is wrong, like, it doesn't really do anything for you. Like here, there's no blending at all, right? It's just the separation of light and shadow from her arm going across her torso. Call it a cast shadow if you want. But it works to like inform what the heck is going on there. Okay? I was trying to practice light placement, but I made a mistake of using only chimera paints, and now I'm having a rough time with coverage and preventing texture buildup. Are you adding white to your chimeras? You have to add some white. They're pure pigments. They don't cover straight. Like you can't paint the phthalo green over black and it turn green. It's just not the way pure pigments work. Okay, so now I want to start placing some highlights, right? And the highlights are going to be more centralized. So I'm going to take some of this color. I'm going to build it up a little more, so even brighter than before. And they're going to be a little more centralized, so I'm looking for areas where like the skin would really reflect the light. So this is inside the lights, right? Things like on her leg here, maybe a little bit like on her hip bone. Maybe that highlight on her hip bone attaches. A little on her stomach. Would I really get a highlight on this side? Probably not. Maybe just the touch like here behind the, what's it called? Probably not on the knees, but I definitely would like on the ankle and foot a little. On this arm, probably not, except for maybe like on her hand right here. Because this stuff is pretty blocked. I could maybe see like a tiny highlight just on that forearm muscle. And then we would get like a highlight on her forehead, on her nose, on her cheeks. Right, this is still sketching. I'm just trying to like place general light. Okay, I don't know how much she would get on her chest. Maybe a little bit. It is quite covered, but perhaps I would get just a bit. It is dry in here today. Okay, so just something like that, right? And it's like, does it work like this? right? Basically 4 levels, right? Shadow, mid-tone, like the transitional halftones, lights, highlights. Then you blend in between. And then you introduce color variety and all these other things. But essentially 4 to 5 values. Now I probably need like one more dark value, but the pure black primer often, because the paint is slightly transparent, will often give you that like 5th value, right? Where it's like underneath her foot might look darker just because the primer does show a little bit. You can see this next layer that I put on her leg here might actually look slightly brighter than the previous layer, even though it's the same paint, just because as you start to cover some of that black. Okay, makes sense. Fantastic. I'm glad everyone understands it perfectly. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this steel gray, right? And I'm putting just a touch of green in it because I want to shift it slightly more green. Not by much, just a little bit, right? It's still like grayish. It's pretty bluish at the moment, but yeah, isn't that weird? I feel like I'm gonna keep hammering this. The big trick that you guys have all bought into is that there's all these techniques and tricks to miniature painting. And it's actually all just painting lights. Non-metallic metal, just painting reflections. OSL, guess what? Just painting lights. Matamalaman, hello. Cast shadows, guess what? It's just lights. Hello. Steve Bird Art, hello. Thanks for following. Now, I say that, but there is like color theory and stuff, but understanding how light works can also teach you about color theory, and there's more to painting than just that. But the majority of it is painting light. Even textures, right? You know, you can understand how to use brushstrokes to achieve different textures and things, but guess what? Still just painting light. You're just painting the light in the way that mimics a texture. And because texture is just the interaction between light and shadows. I'm taking down the whole miniature painting industry. You all have been lied to. Wake up, sheeple. You don't need 10 tricks that I wish I knew when I started painting. Matamalaman. What language? I'm going to guess that you speak Spanish. With a name like Matamalaman. Puedes preguntar en español. Está bien. But I will continue to speak English for the general audience. So what am I doing to the white parts? Can you believe it? The same dang thing. Painting in the shadows. Painting in the lights. And then I'll paint highlights. You guys want me to go on a rant? You want me to get fired up? So I don't remember, who was it? Well, Reddit was one of the reasons I'm about to get fired up, because the mini painting Discord or mini painting subreddit is insane. Un abrazo. I've never seen so many like crazy hot takes before. Those people, and they're all obsessed with the same crap. Well, it's not just Reddit. It has a lot to do with like trendy crap in miniature painting. Okay. Like every other post is like, working on my NMM, just blah, 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 blah. Can I get some? And then it's like the same junk feedback over and over again. And then like, so I'm sorry to call out, who was it? Who was it on the Discord that posted this? Let me see. I'm sorry to call you out, but Rudy Skunky Bear posted a bust using the Zorn palette, and I don't know where the heck the miniature painting community picked that up from, like who it was that was like, the Zorn palette is so cool, you gotta learn to use the Zorn palette. And it's like, yeah, sure, it's a fine, like, it's a fine, like, technique, or like, not technique, but like exercise to try and use it. But like, why the heck did the mini painting community like latch onto that like it was some genius thing? Anders Zorn is more famous for his palette than his actual painting. I swear to God. Like nobody's going around being like, I painted using the Rembrandt palette. Like, am I supposed to like, whatever. The Zorn, it's like, okay, dude. Cool. And most mini painters aren't even using the Zorn palette correctly, because mini painting blacks, guess what? Where is it? You see this? What does that say? Read it, chat. Read the label. It's carbon black. Well, guess what? The Zorn palette uses ivory black. And ivory black has blue. It has a tendency to turn blue when you add white to it. Eh? Stupid thing trying to... I just saw the warning. It's fine, Twitch. It's Spanish. Hi, Ollie. I'm going on a rant about Zorn. And just mini painting trends, like the crap, like that miniature painting community wants to latch onto. Like, it's so trendy sometimes to slap chop and Zorn palette and whatever other random crap. I believe the key problem is many people in painting, digital painting, traditional painting, are looking for unlocking that one method that just makes everything accessible and easy from there on. And you have so many content producers who just offer them what they want. They look for short. That's probably true. Right? It's just like, oh, what's going to make my life easy and how do I blah, blah, blah. It's just like, dude. Reality check. There's no shortcuts. Yeah, okay. So anyways, about the Zorn palette, right? So it's like, it's fine as an exercise, but like there's nothing like special about his palette beyond anyone else's. Right? And you're not even using it right. So the whole thing's dumb. Any method gets you putting paint on plastic, though. Yeah, I mean, that is fine. This is like, well, this is the crazy thing to me. All right, so let's take another step. Right. So I hate slap chop because I just hate the terminology, and then like people latched onto it for some reason. I don't actually hate the technique because the technique's like whatever, it works. Right. If you want to say like, oh, like dry brush and then use contrast paints, like, okay, sure. I'm not really going to teach you anything about painting, but that's fine if all you want to do is get like your figures painted for the tabletop. Okay. But then there was also this like snobbiness of like when contrast paints came out before people even really used them. Like, oh, this is not, you can't use contrast paints, like that's cheating or whatever. It's like, or like this is another one Reddit goes nuts about is like airbrushes. Like Reddit, the mini painting subreddit is like, airbrush. Like, dude, you spent $10,000 on Warhammer 40K figures. You can't afford a $200 airbrush. Oh, all these content creators using an airbrush all the time. It's like, well, actually, I spent $400 buying every single bottle of paint because I don't know how to mix. But I can't buy an airbrush because that's cheating. Yeah, a little bit. I'm feeling a little feisty today. Anyways, I hope you all are doing great, and I hope you got all signed up to Nova. And if you haven't gotten signed up to Nova, like, and you're thinking about coming, you should come because it's going to be a fun time, and there's still classes available. I'm excited to see you work on the lantern. I'm a KDM painter that struggles with lanterns on every model. Oh, Aaron, it's just painting light, bro. It's just painting light. We're going to do the OSL, but it's just light, bud. Don't overthink it, you know? Light is complicated, though. Okay, there's a lot that goes into it. Oh, these little things. I don't think when I go back down to grab one, I'll show you like how I do them. I'll grab one of the ones I've already painted and I'll kind of show you. I like oils, but Eric made me drop it months ago. I did? I've never said there's anything wrong with oils, just that they're not for me. But if you're looking to learn oils, ready for another plug? It's not plug for me though. If you're thinking of learning to use oil paints, Lucas Saba is teaching at Nova Open, which is the first time he's taught classes at a U.S. convention. Okay, so here's your opportunity to learn from who I think is the master oil painter in miniature painting. How's that for a plug? He often hangs out in the chat too. Yeah, he's still got spaces. It was probably a year ago when you told me to paint with... Learn how to paint with... You should learn how to paint with acrylics. You should... Well, that's another one. This is not a... all right, it's a little attack. It's a tiny attack. But not an attack against James Wapple. This is not an attack against James. This is an attack against his community. Because there was this bit of a like snobby attitude around like, ugh, I painted oils. No, I didn't say it was against James. It works great for him. Okay? And if he likes painting in oils and it works for him, that's fantastic. I like acrylics. They work for me. Okay? I'm not here to tell you guys which one you should use. Okay? This is my point. I'm not evangelizing either. Okay? But there's some acrylic, or there's some oil evangelists out there. They are more difficult to paint with oils, I think, textures. But you know who's teaching a class on that? Lucas up at Nova. So I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not looking for any kickbacks. I get no money from Lucas. Maybe I'll get a beer out of him if you guys sign up to his class. But I'm not getting any direct kickbacks from selling tickets to his class. Monument Hobbies. Hello. Welcome everyone. Oh, calm down. Monuments in here. Everybody chill out. All right. We don't want to freak out the the new people. Everybody come in and be like, this Eric guy's a real jerk. Dude, what's crazy to me? Check that. Alessandro, did you know that Bill Horan paints in enamels? Maybe one of the most well-known historical miniature painters. Dude paints with enamels. All right, chill, Richard. Dude, I use them. I've got them on here. I've got, well, they're not contrast paints, but I've got them handy. I use them all the time. They're really nice transparents, and they, guess what? They work great through. You know what contrast paints and express paints and these sorts of things are awesome in? Now, I know that I'm going to come off as a bit of a, part of the 1% here. But they're great through an airbrush. Sometimes I miss brush painting with lacquers, but being light at 99%. Dude, lacquers give me a headache. I've got like these guys. These will mess you up. Is that a dung beetle night? Sure, it sure is. My girlfriend tells me I'm a happier person after a session of... Dude, they are so strong. Gunzy, that's the ones that... How are those, by the way? They come in like... I've never used Gunzy. I've only used Mr. Color enamels. How is I don't know if it's pronounced Gunzy, whatever. How are they? They come in bigger bottles, right? And are they easy to get in the US? Or are they a massive pain? I would show up for whatever he has for the class. Okay, so kind of base coat's done on the cloak, right? How are we doing on time? We got a little. I can get a base coat down on the hair. How was this? Is Monument still around? Was it Jason? Was it Jordan who raided? Anyways, welcome in, raiders. Hi. How was the stream? I'm a terrible streamer. The raid comes in and I'm just like, all right, let me finish my crazy rant I'm talking about. Hi, people. Hi, raiders. I'm Eric. I paint miniatures for a living. Welcome to the stream. I hope you had a great stream, Jason. Oh, thanks for following, War Pigment. Is there rules for figures? Can they have nudity? Yeah, you can have nudity. We have the discretion whether we will display them or not, but you can enter whatever you want. Like, you can enter them, they will get judged. Whether we choose to display them is up to our discretion. But normally, we're kind of okay with nudity as long as it's like what I would call like artistic nudity and not like sexual violence. Okay, so. Anyone know when the Adrian Smith Goblin Kickstarter ships? I don't know the exact date. I'm sorry, but I know they are they're working on it. I have a certain vampire lady on a throne with lots of people. That one, yeah, that one is questionable. That one might not get displayed. We are supposed to be a family-friendly convention. Now, normally I wouldn't do stuff like this. I'm not a big fan of anime hair colors, but she's like a specific character, so I am doing the canon hair color scheme on her. Occasionally I'll give my Kingdom Death figures like blue or weird hair colors if I think it fits that specific character. But I'm not typically into the really wacky color schemes. If they cross the line, is it disqualified? No, it's judged. It's just not displayed. Is an MFCA coming up for you? Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. I've got to finish painting a houndstooth jacket before then, so I can enter historical, because I'm a historical painter now. I don't know too much about KDM, but the premise that they are in the dark, right, and the lantern is supposed to be the only source of light, but if you painted them that way, you would see almost none of the figure details. If you just painted the light as it's supposed to be, then there wouldn't be any on the face. So yeah, so that is an issue with Kingdom Death, but then there's like other stuff that doesn't play into that. Like there is one settlement that has like a sun, air quote sun. And actually, Richard, you're not too far off. There's a thing called the Lantern Horde, which is like a giant pile of lanterns that gives off enough light to like spread out a ways. So it's like a huge, basically kind of like a gigantic bonfire of lanterns. And like there's a thing in the game when you're hunting, there's like as you're hunting the monsters, like there's a track, and based on how far you go on the track, there's this thing called overwhelming darkness, where when you hunt higher level monsters, the overwhelming darkness is when the like light of the lantern horde no longer reaches where you've left the settlement. So there is, even though it's supposed to be in complete darkness, there is a like sort of sun. Yeah, I'm a big lore nerd, dude. I know all about it. And yes, I do play. Heck yeah, I play Kingdom Death. It's sweet. It's a great game. It's fantastic. All right, so what I'm going to do is real quick, I'm going to grab like an ivory. It's a fantastic game. Something really close to white. I'm just going to get a base coat of this down on the lantern itself. You're on year 27 of People of the what? People of the Lantern? People of the Dreamkeeper? People of the Sun? Well, no, that's only a 25-year campaign. The base game? Yeah, People of the Lantern. Core game is the hardest version of the game. I don't know if I agree with that. I think People of the Sun can be pretty dang hard. It can like go really bad. It's the only one where like if you lose a fight, like in the end, the last 5 years, like you just get an instant game over. Oh, you're talking like okay, the core game with no expansions. Like, I thought you were talking about People of the Lantern in particular. Yeah, okay, well then yes, I would probably agree with that, where you have like no extra gear or anything. It's just like Phoenix, Lion, like that stuff. Yes, the character's literal name is Glow. This is Glow, and this is Glow. It's the same character. And then there's two more. She's had, I think, like 5 or 6 figures. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, they have some recurring characters. I believe they are, I think Adam, like Poots, who makes the game, I think his like settlement, if he has like characters that he likes in his own home game, I think he has a tendency to put them into the actual game as like canon characters. because there's a few others that have gotten, like Aya is like a known character. She's this redheaded lady. She's the one in the comic book at the back of the rule book. Right. Yeah. So you should be able to see. So now we've got like just rough base colors down, right? We've got sort of the skin tone. We've got what the hair color is going to be. And honestly, like, if you wanted, you could finish like a few details and like clean up a couple things, like around her face, paint her little stone and her, like clean up some stuff. And you probably could finish this model, call it finished, in like another hour, right? But, right, this is just like the rough sketch. It's up to me how far I want to push the level of detail and refinement and like how smooth and stuff I want to be. But like this gets you can get 80% of the work done in 20% of the time or something like that. Or 10%, 90% of the work done in 10% of the time, whatever you want to call it. I'm just making up percentages here. I've got some of the first run pre-Kingdom Death minis. I'd trade you for feedback sessions if you're interested. White Speaker 39 of 100 and Savior 5 of 100. It's pretty impressive. I'm not like a collector. I mean, I am a collector in terms of like I buy a lot of the models, but I'm not like a collector in terms of like I want the first edition whatever resins. Like me. I don't even buy all the busts and stuff. You would think I would be excited for the busts, but I actually prefer the small scale like gaming figures because painting busts and things like that is my job now. So I like to paint the gaming figures from time to time. Okay, enough chit chat. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, we will continue on with her. All right, so I'll be right back. I'm back. How's everyone doing? I've had a cigarette. I've calmed down. All right. So anyways, what's the deal with... I'm joking. I'm calm. How are we doing? Some messy parts, but it's okay. Come on, focus. How are we doing? It's going all right, right? Just looking not too bad. Dude, what grinds your gears? I want to know. Is there a commended in Masters? Yes. I think we call it a finalist. Tell me what grinds your gears, guys. I'm interested. Well, let's hit me with some mini painting. What should we call them? Mini painting. What's your least favorite mini painting myth? Which one gets on your nerves? Excuse me. Pollen really grinds my gears. It really grinds my gears that every company has a wet palette, but only 2 sell plinths. It's kind of hard to find some decent plinths, huh? If I can make a suggestion, Hera tends to have really nice shipping, and they sell some pretty good plinths. Smoothness is everything. Yeah, that's some BS. Smoothness is just a way to get achieve a certain result, achieve a certain material finish, you know. I'm trying to paint the skin smooth. Why? Because her skin should be smooth. But her hair shouldn't. My wet palette is like the size of a sheet of paper. It's like an 8.5 by 11 or something. Dry brushing hate? Dry brush totally has its uses. It's another one I don't get. That's like the contrast paints thing, right? Where people are like, oh, contrast paints is for beginners. Dry brushing is for beginners. No, dry brushing has its uses. Okay. I've been known to partake in some dry brushing. Man, I had to paint some terrain. I dry brushed so much. Silocast regrinds my gears. I don't know anything about that stuff. That's outside my wheelhouse. I don't know anything about that. People who hate NMM and only ever like TMM. Those people. Are we talking about Reddit again? Got a little grainy bump here. I gotta cut it off and get rid of it. It's bothering me. Go away. Okay, do judges really care if there's a speck in your paint? It depends on how bad it is. Like, is it bad? Is it like really noticeable? If it's really bad, you should probably try and get rid of it. Well, let's see who else. What other hot takes we got? Oh, the NMM only looks good from one specific angle. People, yeah, those are the. But that's just people. But you know what? Just realize that's just people regurgitating crap they've heard. Okay, because they've probably never actually seen what good NMM looks like in hand. Well, you can deal with that, Richard. Paint the backs of your dang models. It really grinds my gears when people don't paint the backs of their models. Painting technique gatekeeping, yeah. This is very similar, like into some of the same, you know, all kind of falls under the same umbrella there. Come on, you guys got some other good ones. Or did I hit them all? Consistency of skim milk, dude. Oh, thin your paints? You gotta thin your paints? Yeah. Anyone say they hate this? They are bad. That's fair. I don't know anyone who actually likes the, what's it called? Now, I will admit glazing can take forever if you do it a certain way. But it definitely has its uses. Like, I'm quite literally using it now to do some blending. But I did some sketching first, right? I started with layers. Now I'm using glazes as like a final thing. People that like begin with glazes and do the whole thing only in glazes, that's crazy to me. Oh, that's an interesting topic. Is it fine to lie to beginners to make their life easier? Interesting. Because I would argue that some of that could lead to like compounding mistakes or misunderstandings early could lead to some compounding mistakes later on. But I also think that you don't need to necessarily overwhelm people early, right? You should be able to paint everything either with a size 3 brush. I mean, I can paint almost anything with a size 3, but I do switch to other brushes for certain things. I think that one holds some validity, depending on the size of the model. I'm not saying it's ideal, but I feel like I could achieve most everything with just one good size 3. It depends on the size 3 you're even talking about, because paint brush sizes are inconsistent between brands. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I am, Richard, you're correct. Dude, I'm thinking about teaching a contrast or a class about that. So I tend to retire my classes after a certain while. I'm legitimately thinking of a class somehow using that as like the title. Like, you need more contrast or whatever. Something. There's an idea brewing. Do you record one for posterity? Is this recording? Yes, you can watch all my past painting videos on YouTube. Oh, no. I don't do that. No, you gotta come. Or you take it from one of the people that has taken it from me. We pass down the knowledge. I don't need to teach an OSL class anymore. There's other people that can teach an OSL class now. I say that, but I'm teaching it at Warhammer, but that's, or the Warhammer Dallas event, but that is aimed at newer painters, not like big. It's not a big convention. Like, I wouldn't teach it at Nova anymore because there's plenty of other people that could teach that class just as well. Chimera paint caps? Yeah, they're not the best. No pigment names on hobby paints. What about these? You want to take NMM from me? Take my workshop. I teach it in that as part of a bigger lesson. Spanish painters grind your gears? Yeah, screw those guys for being good, you know? Why they gotta go and do that? Does your class teach how to drink heaps of Red Bull and not jittery hands? No, that's just genetics, baby. See these? See this? This is where you're supposed to say, like, yeah, steady as a rock. Yeah, this is my painting hand. And if anyone understood that reference, good on you. Oh, there you go. Good job, people who knew it was Blazing Saddles. For those that didn't, go watch Blazing Saddles. It's a great movie. I wonder if Warhammer movie series become a thing. Well, will the big ones like Windsor and Newton come into the miniature acrylic space? I mean, the margins for them should be amazing. No. And I will tell you why. Well, technically they are kind of, this is too much inside information, I guess. But the market is actually a little too small, and the profit margin on small brushes is not as big as they are on like the like size 10s and things for watercolor that are like these $200 Kolinsky Sable paintbrushes, right? But yeah, I don't think you'd see that. Like the hobby is already pretty big. And I'm sure they notice that things like the size 1 and size 0 and stuff sell out all the time. But I just don't know if it's like worth it for them to like specifically market to miniature painters. Also, there's a thing that's like, so like Coca-Cola, right? Let's take Coca-Cola for an example. In advertising, right? When you're the top dog, okay, you don't, Coca-Cola does a lot of advertising, right? But they never have to compare themselves to another brand. So there's no such thing as take the Coca-Cola challenge, right? They don't have to, like, Pepsi wants to be like, oh, we're preferred over Coca-Cola in a taste test. And Coca-Cola's like, we don't even think about you. Like, we don't even care. Right? The something like Windsor and Newton is kind of the same, right? Where it's like they can just, well, at least were. Now I wouldn't say that they're like the best. At one time, like the Series 7 was, and probably still is considered by many to be like the top end Kolinsky Sable brush, right? But they don't have to like advertise to a specific market like ours, because they just like, yeah, our product sells itself because it's the best, right? So there's kind of that mindset where I think someone like Winsor and Newton, right? They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Oh, these miniature painters like using our paintbrushes? That's cool. We get a little bit more from that. Hello. But yeah, they don't have to like specifically advertise or anything. Anyways. And that's coming from someone who has been approached by just about every major paintbrush company and stuff like they're not. They don't care about us. We're small. We're small fries. Dude, go look in Spain. If you go to a grocery store in Spain, there is a whole wall, like a massive wall of Coca-Cola. And there is like a section this big of Pepsi. There are places in the world where it is like Pepsi is like non-existent. Pepsi, however, what? Who owns? What do they own? They own Rockstar now? Something? So I know you have gone through phases like get good at NMM. Is there something you think you need more work on? You're just kind of pushing in general. There are things that I want to try. I'm not going to give like any specifics because I don't want to commit to anything or even give any spoilers for stuff that I might try or be doing. But there are some elements of my painting that I would like to push myself on, and what that means I will leave for you guys to decide. But it's not like specific technique stuff really, or not like any what you would call like, oh, I'm gonna learn the X thing. I already said I'm moving towards historical. Look at this. Like this right? I'm doing this. You guys saw this on stream. I'm still working on it. It's taking a long time. This is a specific exercise in patience. Is it like a technique? Not really. But it's yeah. Just how many hours in on it? I don't know. Too many at this point. On just the jacket alone, probably like 30, maybe less. I don't know. I get kind of tired after a little while and I take some breaks because it's like I'm so bored of painting squares. Yeah, I will not be painting any Napoleonics. You can forget about that. That one's not happening. Napoleonics, Civil War, that stuff. Nope. I do like historical subjects from like a civilian sort of point of view. Okay, there is one sort of Napoleonic that I would consider painting, but again, I don't want to talk about it because it may happen at one point. We'll see. I call it Napoleonic, but it's like a specific person from that era. Two hours at a time or longer? Definitely longer. I did like I don't know. I think I painted like the back and the like neck thing last night, and that took like 6 hours or something to just do that. Like just paint all those lines and like make sure they're straight and do you think the ultraviolet cloth textures is a fad? This is meant to be a genuine question, not a troll. Can I trust you? Fad? No, I don't think it's a fad. I think doing specifically the herringbone like Mark does is a fad because he did it and then other people are just copying him. But like Careel has been doing like pretty realistic like fabric for a while. So no, I don't think overall it's a fad, but like yeah, doing what Mark did is, right? Does that make sense? Is that clear? Hey, I'm not blaming you. It's fun. I'm sure it's fun. But when I see the 30th herringbone, or whatever it's called, design, like, okay. Oh, I missed a question. Do you think that for becoming a good artist, you should paint things and concepts familiar to you? I would say get outside of your comfort zone. You learn best when you're uncomfortable. Or you push yourself the most when you're uncomfortable. No, I don't think that matters at all. Yeah, who cares about that stuff? Paint whatever you want. I don't think there should be any like cultural significance to what you're allowed to paint. No, he didn't say Spaniards, he said Spanish speaking. And if we're talking about Spanish speaking Central and South American countries, they call it anime figures. Everything is like las figuras chinas. So anything Asian is Chinese figures. So, take what they have to say with a grain of salt. Yeah. Las monitas chinas. That's specifically referring to anime figures, by the way, that are from Japan. Okay. There is some like detail-y stuff here. I need to like clean up some edges. Sure. Right. Yeah, that's fine. We say some things too, because there's definitely some things that I would not say that, my grandparents used to say. Oh, I'm not either. Who is texting me like crazy? Who is this? Leave me alone. I'm streaming. My phone's blowing up. What time is it here? 8:04. On the east coast of the United States. 1 a.m. Wait, where the heck do you live that's 1 a.m.? That is... England? Portugal? Wait, Portugal's 1 a.m.? Shouldn't it be 2? Do you guys have a separate time zone than Spain? What paint colors am I using for the cloth? Doesn't matter. You tell me, what colors do they look like? What's it look like? Esas cosas son del diablo. They're of the devil. Those things are of the devil. So there's a... I went there for a very short amount of time. But my brother actually knew the guy. So there was a whole thing about the... this will tell you exactly where I live or grew up. But there was a guy that young man, right? Or well, teenager, whatever. They killed a kid, right? And he went to the same church as us. And they found Dungeons and Dragons books like in his house, whatever. And this was back in the late 80s, early 90s, I think. And that was like the big scare for like Dungeons and Dragons is demonic and these kids are yeah, it's gonna like they're gonna turn kids to the devil. Yeah, so my brother like actually knew that dude. I did not. My brother is significantly older than me. Significantly. He's 11 years older than I am. I was too young. Yeah, the Satanic Panic. That was what they called it. But yeah, that happened where I grew up. Yeah, the video game one. What was his name? Who was the guy that was like, video games are evil? He was just going on and on about it on the news. I'm glad his name has like slipped my mind now. It's like Jack something. Anybody remember? Guys are awful. Jack Thompson? Was that it, actually? I'm gonna look up a picture of him real fast. Killer Cadogan? Cadogan. Hello. Thanks for the prime. Jack Thompson. Activist. Is that him? Yeah, that was him. There you go. He was all anti-video game man. I knew it was Jack something. Well, the CIA did a lot of things. It's kind of what they do. Try and destabilize third world countries so that they work with the U.S. government and provide us more beneficial relationships. But, you know, kind of their whole deal. Regime changes and whatnot. I mean, obviously there's other stuff they do, but... Whoops, I'm off camera. My bad. The CIA also developed LSD or something. Are you listening to Jack Thompson speeches where he's complaining about Grand Theft Auto or whatever? Would I consider it? Possibly. Probably more than Australia. That's so far. You guys are so far. When did Bush have the shoe thrown at him? I believe that was during his second term, but I could be misremembering it. That was a classic moment. Dude was like, whoa, whoa. Two days, like 2 hours. Oh, it would make the news because he would not shut up about it for like weeks afterwards. He'd be like, these guys out here throwing shoes. Wasn't even a good shoe. Pretty sure he's wearing New Balances. What a loser. Okay. Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah. Forgot to bring up his sneakers. Yeah. Terrible shoes. Not like my shoes. The greatest shoes. Have you seen them? They're really good. They're great. You know, a lot of people say that they're the best shoes and that, you know, I can throw a shoe better than anyone. If he had my shoes, he wouldn't have missed. Very aerodynamic. Yeah, I just can't think fast enough on my feet to go on like the insane tangents that he goes on. Just like my brain just doesn't work that way. Where he'll just be like talking about this thing and then just be like, and by the way, you know, a lot of people they're saying like, wow, Trump, you have the best shoes. Like, I'm feeling pretty good about the skin. I think it's working pretty well. Obviously, the face is not good at the moment, but you guys have seen me paint faces so many times, and it's so tiny. Slap chop, the miniature painting technique, it's great. A lot of people say, wow, it's really great. Slap chop named after, the kitchen device with the guy from the infomercial. And, a lot of people said he was a bad guy. He's a real bad guy. I'm here to tell you he's a great, great guy. So what? He bit a prostitute. Big deal. Big whoop. Who hasn't? Do I know the guy on Instagram, Trump by Brian? No, I don't think so. No, I can't do the constant gear shifting that he does. Good morning. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Does he really still talk about Joe Biden that much? I don't feel like he does. Maybe he does. I try not to listen to him too much. Have I tried the new P3 paints? I have not. I was offered. I need to contact them. As some of you might know, I used to work for Privateer Press, but I have not tried the new paints. I met the CEO of Steamforged at Adepticon, and he offered to send me a set to try out. So perhaps I will get some and see what I think. I've used the old ones quite a bit, but I have not tried the new ones, so I could be curious to see what they're like. I used to like the white a lot. Trump has mentioned Biden on an average of 6 times a day in his last 100 days. That is called living rent-free. Okay. How do we feel in general? I think it's kind of coming together, right? So somebody wanted to know about, I wanted to talk about what's it called. So how do you handle like a lantern here? So let's what time is it? Actually, let me take a break first. Let me take a quick break. Collect my thoughts. I can feel the energy because I'm slowing down talking, you know. More breaks in me conversing with chat and more just concentrating on painting. So let me take a quick break and then I will explain how I approach the lantern. So what do we have here? We have Guinevere that I painted, okay? And you can see the lantern that I don't really paint the like little swirly things black. So the actual lantern will be black. But I didn't really do an OSL effect on her because meh. But I will on her because you guys are interested. But you can see like just the little swirly things. I paint like a dark orangish red color so that it looks like the light is like, it's so bright that it's reducing some of the black around, right? So that light like spills over and reduces the blackness of these sections, okay? So the important thing is that the lantern is the brightest thing, right? So with any OSL effect, the light source itself is the brightest, okay? That is the number one thing to understand. Where is my orange? Orange? Hello? Hello? Hot orange, where are you? Where did you go? Oh, we have Chimera orange, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Orange. Oh, there it is. Orange fire. That'll work. Chimera orange is cool. This also works well. I like this. This is pretty intense. You keep colors in a plastic, but when I travel, and then I just haven't taken them out. So those were from Adepticon, and then I just haven't used them on my recent projects, so they've just been sitting in a bag. Got to keep them in a plastic bag for when you fly on an airplane. All right, so we're going to take some yellow and we're just going to apply it like a wash over this sort of the top and bottom. All right. This is the reason I base coated the lantern in white first. So that I had a really solid layer underneath that I can apply like thin layers of color to in order to start to build up some more of the saturated tones. Again, I want it to be light, and I can take something in between and mix up a light yellow here. You can see that the coverage is like still not perfect, so I could push the values a little bit higher on this. But you want the thing that's emitting light to be the brightest thing, right? The next thing I'm going to do real quick is just not everything, right? I don't want to like try and paint that black right up to the line. I'm just going to get the top and bottom of the lantern. Oop, let me get on camera. Huh? How about that? Right, I'm just going to get the top and the bottom of the lantern black real fast just so you can see the level of contrast. And I can paint the handle separate or whatever, but let's just hit it real fast, at least get it part of the way. Okay, it's not perfect. I'd do the around the hand separate, but be nice if we could see. Eh? Is it all been all blurry and stuff? What's going on? Maybe I need to come closer and zoom out a little bit. Maybe that'll help. Oh, I was off camera. My bad, dude. All right. So now the yellow should be dry. Okay, so I'm going to take some orange. And again, pretty thin. Not like pure watery, but just like apply some orange to the top and bottom. Give it some of that interior glow. And I'll take some of the yellow and orange together. Gonna mix those two. You don't have to be too perfect here, because when you paint the little lines, it's gonna like cover up some of the less blended parts of this. All right, so like that blending is not perfect, but I have to paint the little swirly bits. Okay, so this is kind of like what the level I want of the light. All right, so the lantern is nice and bright. It's very high value. So now we need to think about like, well, what color is flame, right? So flame looks white. Let's do this thing. I'm going to turn this lamp on so you can still see me. And I'm going to turn this light off. Okay. Hi, everyone. So we'll take out the lighter, right? The flame looks white on camera, but when I get it close to my face, what color is it really? Right? It looks white and yellow and orange. The actual flame. I froze? Oh, weird. What happened? Huh? Why is this camera? Oh, am I back? I'm back. That was odd. Don't know why that happened. All right, so. Yeah, right. So here's my hand. Yeah. What color is the flame? Like, what color does it cast on me? Right? The actual flame itself is like white and yellow and orange, but the color it casts is, it's not purple. You guys being, is it yellow? I don't really see much yellow, right? I see mostly orange. It's almost entirely orange, right? So, and it's nowhere near as bright as the flame. This is the camera I want. Hello. Okay. So what do we have to do? Okay. We want to take some of our shadow skin color. All right. The important thing to understand about light is it can only make things brighter. So we have to increase the value of the light, right? So does this really look brighter than this? Not really. So we have to push the light more. And this might be too orange right now. So we might need a little more yellow, but this still reads as orange, right? This is an orange here. Yes. So we're kind of taking the average color and we want to increase the value of the thing we're, come on, camera. We want to increase the value of the thing we're casting it on, right? So from here, we want to think about where the flame is, or the light is going to hit. And we can sketch that light onto the surface. Now, light falls off very fast, okay? So when you're dealing with something like this, look at my, let's go back real quick. Okay, we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to this camera. We're gonna turn the light off again. All right. Okay. We're back to here, and I'm not frozen. Okay. Look how fast the flame dies down. So here I'm right there, but it's not really affecting my face very much, right? And just that much further away, I doubled in distance, but the light went down way more than double. Okay. So light fall off is pretty fast. And now I go that far and you barely even see the flame. Okay. So this is the inverse square law in effect, right? So if I from here, really bright, right? Really, really bright, double it, much weaker, double it again, super weak, double it that far, even weaker, right? So, back to the other camera, okay? So when we're doing this, you need to be thinking about the distance that the object is. So when it is this close and it's this bright, up here on the leg is twice as far away, so that light's going to die down really fast, okay? So it might even be barely noticeable. How about on the back side, right? Like, it's probably going to affect this, but this is much further away from the lantern than her leg is. And this inside part of her leg, it might get some, right? But it's not going to get as much as like her actual leg. Right? right? So we can mix a warm, but remember it has to be lighter than this. So if this is the color we have, right, it needs to be brighter than that. So we need to take some yellow and orange, which is going to do what to a bluish tone, and then we have to add light, right? So you're going to end up with some sort of like warmish orange light. And white also picks up color way more than other things do. Okay, so it might affect it a bit, but it's not a lot, right? And then if we need, we can come back. The important thing is that the value is correct, right? See what it did to the value? The value is not so different, right? The most important thing is that it is not darker than the thing we put it on. It can only lighten. Crazy, right? Light can only make things lighter. How about that? Okay, so I think people have a tendency to overdo OSL effects sometimes. And then where it is absolutely closest to the leg is where I will add a little bit more. And I might have to add some more like saturation to this, but I can put like a little bit more light where it is absolutely nearest to the leg. Now, if I want it to show up from the main view, I might have to have it wrap around a little bit more. Right, something like that, right? Where you just start to pick up on it. But notice it's not like absurdly intense, okay? Don't overdo it. Unless this character is in like a fully dark scene and the light becomes your main light source, you don't want it to be so crazy. So like this reads as like a light source, and then I can play with the saturation if I want. Once it's like on, right, I can come back and push some extra like orange into it if I want to really like start to adjust the color. Do you darken the point between the OSL and the skin with the turban? No, absolutely not. Because it was already the level of shadow I wanted, JC, right? So it's already the level of shadow I want. I can only go up from there. I don't want to artificially enhance the Terminator. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? And it's not just not how light works. Your eyes can actually, what will often happen is like your eyes will make the Terminator look darker, like the core shadow look darker than what it really is. Okay. Because you're dealing with like context of a second light source, you now go like, well, that shadow is darker than this shadow over here, but it's not. They're the same shadow. All right, I can add a little bit to her kneecap or something. Okay. Ta-da, that's about it. And then you come back and you, what I do want is I want like a darker tone, some kind of like dark red brown, something like a cavalry brown or whatever. It's very like a dark reddish brown. Crazy how quickly that reads as light with a little bit of work. So I told you guys at the very beginning of the stream, it's all just painting light. There's no tricks. Very similar to the OSL class Chris Chung teaches. Where do you think Chris Chung learned OSL? Ready Player Kit. Thanks for following. This is also why I said I don't need to teach Cast Shadows anymore, because someone else can teach it. All right, so now the last thing is to come back with this like dark reddish or like this deep reddish orange. All right, this kind of like brick orange. Okay, and then you, come on, focus on the figure, right? And then these things that are blocking the light, right? We're going to use like this reddish orange to create like, it's like the light is so bright that it's blooming around the light source, right? It's like, yeah, there would probably be black there, but like the light is intense and it's like it's glowing from behind and it spills over. With a gaming piece like this, do you tend to do general highlights or do you leave the back a bit darker? I tend to give light on the back, right? So there, I do sort of a more general light source. I want it to look good from multiple angles. From really like any viewing angle. All right, so I just use the edge of the brush to get these vertical posts. What sort of games do I like? I like Kingdom Death. I like Kill Team. Those are the main two I play. You could paint like a little bit of glow like under her hand, but it would have a harder time reaching her hand because there's like things blocking. No, I haven't played any of the new edition of War Machine. I know nothing about it. I used to play quite a bit of War Machine, but I have not. I have not played any of the new stuff, so I really don't know. I shift this shadow just a little bit warmer. All right, so we can get something like in between. Oh, sorry. So yeah, that's basically, that's the gist. There's your quick and dirty OSL lesson. Yeah, you just do that, and it looks like the light's like glowing from inside the lantern. Yeah, I was all about some Mark II War Machine. This is good stuff. Them's were the good old days. Have I ever heard of Elder Me? No, I don't know what that is. What's that? Okay. And it works even better when you do this. Simple but effective. And then you just blend it out as much as you need. Jumping on the Oblivion remaster? No, I went on like a kind of... You guys trying to get me going another rant? I think it's cool they released it. It's whatever. It's not for me. I'm kind of tired of the remakes and the... It's like, dude, you've released one game in between Oblivion and it's like Oblivion, Skyrim, and now a remake. Like, I guess they released like Fallout and whatever, but come on. Walter, hello, welcome. Get to raid me this time? Hi. Welcome in, everyone. How's everyone doing? Now let's see the zero saturation version. Do you want to see it on black again? Do you want to see... yeah, let's not go too far with 76, okay? Come on. We don't want to talk about that as like an actual thing they released. So with black and white. Yeah. See, it's pretty subtle. Like, the light is not that intense, okay? But it's the color... that helps, right? It just needs to be a little bit. It's barely brighter than the shadow, but it reads as a light, right? It reads as a OSL. Okay, so most important things to remember is how fast the light like falls off based on the proximity of the thing making the light source, and the second is like that it can only make things brighter. If you get one thing right, it's that light can only make things brighter. Okay, I've seen it so many times. I'm gonna do it real fast, and this is gonna piss. Are you ready for me to make you guys mad? You know how many times I've seen this, and it drives me insane. Someone takes a dark color like this because they know, like, oh, well, fire creates these dark oranges, and then they do something like this, and it's like, dude, like, that's darker than the color you just put it on. Like, that's not how light works. It can't make things darker. It can only make it lighter. Ink. Lincoln Park Bomb. Hi. Welcome in, everyone. Shreefun, welcome. King Treefort, welcome. How are you, Walter? Sorry, I was just finishing up explaining some OSL. How was the stream? What were you working on? What were you doing? Look, I can delete it. Chill out, guys. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it, okay? All good. I'm doing good. I was prepping some Tengu from Conquest for the Parabellum stream I'm doing on Saturday. Cool. I know some of those guys. Nice dudes. The Greeks. So anyways, any questions about OSL? Did you get your Nova stuff? And just last night I got my first diorama for Nova primed. Nice. Yeah, OSL can be a bit of a struggle since the ambient light would need to be really low for a maximum effect. Yes. But also, we also usually want to paint the rest of the model in bright light situation. What are your recommendations for this conundrum? It depends what you're trying to achieve, right? So like here, I want the figure to be generally readable, but if you're trying to do like a really intense OSL, it is possible to achieve a look if the like lamp is the main light source, right? Or whatever. Like, I don't know if I don't think I have it, but let me see. I don't know where it is. It's named like Andrus or something. It's from Hair Models. I did the skeleton guy with like a lantern in his hand, and it was basically all OSL with a light source from the back. And in that case, it was like you expose for the light source, right? So you're painting. You can like reduce your value range and extend the value range of the light source. It's just like exposing for a camera. And this is getting like really complex in light painting, but basically you're like reducing, you're taking a limited value range in order to expand it when painting like just OSL. No, not like underexposing, like you're like crushing the values, right? So you're taking like a smaller value range that might appear and like spreading it out so that you can do, it's like high dynamic range, right? When you only have like a light source. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Would the struts on the lantern affect the light on her leg, or is that too fussy at this size? I have done that. I did that on the Watcher. If you want to go back, you can watch I have a stream where I paint the Watcher. He's like a boss character from this game. He's got a whole bunch of lanterns, and I do that sort of effect where it like the struts block out part of the light source. But on her, I just don't feel like the effect is worth the hassle, right? It can be done. I think it also works better when you're dealing with something like more contrasty, where this is like not super contrasty. But anyways, I hope that was interesting. I probably am going to call the stream here pretty soon. Unless anyone has any further questions about OSL and things. Or anything we've done today. I'm going to probably hit the recording. Thanks, YouTube people. Like and subscribe if you like the video. Ring the bell and things. Thanks. Bye-bye.